So I mentioned that this is... What's up, guys? Welcome back. So I mentioned this a little bit in my previous video. I ended up having to quit my job because of the coronavirus. It's not something that I ever would have liked to have happened or wanted to have happened. So let's rewind this all the way back. I worked as a pre-press operator for a screen printing company. So I would handle artwork coming in and prepare it to go on to be printed. And we also had the printing and production facility in the back of the building. So it was a pretty large building. I was part of the first team that was there when it opened. Before all of this ever really happened, there was definitely a pattern of the way sickness traveled through the building. It would start typically with either somebody who had a kid or a younger sibling, and then it would move from desk to desk to desk to desk to desk, just down the line. The only times it wouldn't happen like that is if some people were goofing around having a good day, and then it would spread out from 2 desks. Because it's an industrial building, we didn't have any windows, and even the departments that did have windows, you couldn't open them. So all of the office section didn't have any fresh air, it was all recirculated. We also had 1 refrigerator, 2 microwaves stacked on top of each other, 1 coffee machine, 1 water station, and 1 bathroom for each gender. It's a lot of people using that. It's the entire customer service team, the entire art department, all of management, and everybody in production, which production also had 3 shifts. So off the top of my head, there would probably be at least 100 people in the building at any given moment. And as we've talked about, I have an autoimmune disorder. Now, I will say, I don't get sick more easily than anybody else. I'm in kind of a weird spot where, because I'm technically already sick on a day-to-day basis, that cold is now the second thing that I have wrong with me. So I almost always get hit really hard and am totally down for the count for a few days. And if I'm very unlucky, which is most of the time, I will get a secondary infection, which will be either an additional bacterial infection, viral, fungal, whatever. So I will almost always have the issues from my own immune system that I deal with on a day-to-day basis, plus the cold, plus an additional something. Come the end of February, as things are starting to ramp up and people are starting to take things a little bit more seriously, we start asking HR and the manager of our department and the company owner, like, hey, what's the plan if this becomes a thing? What's the plan if somebody gets sick? What's the plan? And the plan we heard across the board was, just don't get sick. Okay, probably fine for most people. We did not have a plan that was different from that until the stay-at-home order for my state was issued March 21st. March 20th, we had a meeting where they announced the plan, which was that everybody would come in on Monday, and then we would have alternating, some people Tuesday, Thursday, some people Wednesday, Friday. Decent enough plan for the way that things were that week. As far as I'm aware, they had only started discussing things on Wednesday the 18th. As far as I'm aware, talks could have been had behind the scenes, but that was when management and everybody started actually sitting down together in an office talking about what they wanted to do. So Wednesday the 18th, they start a plan. Friday the 20th, they announced the plan. Saturday the 21st, Governor Murphy of New Jersey announces full lockdown for the state. Everybody has to stay home, excepting certain businesses. And this is where it gets interesting, because our company technically counted as manufacturing, and it also counted as a print shop. So we were not required by the state to shut down, but we also didn't really fit within the spirit of what was meant by those. When they left manufacturing and print shops open, it was to keep necessary businesses running, and we did not contribute to necessary businesses. It was a nice job. I liked it a lot. This is not me disparaging them, but we weren't what should have been considered necessary. Literally everybody still went into work that Monday, March 23rd, and The atmosphere was very tense, and you could tell at least for our department, half the department was uncomfortable. You could tell a lot of customer service was uncomfortable. I don't know what was going on back in production because we had many walls and doors between us, and I usually sat in just the one room. I had been there maybe an hour and a half into the day, and our manager walks in, and pretty much, him and the customer service manager come in, and both of them say, if you guys don't want to be here, you don't have to be here. Like, there is a shutdown. We're not going to fire you if you want to go home. And literally 2/3 of the department were immediately, including myself, were immediately like, okay, we'll finish out the workday and then we're going to go home. And we'll stay home until this blows over. So that Monday, everybody went home. I think the following week, they shut down for a full week. But then they opened back up. And we all kind of were talking to each other, and we were at the strictest part of the shutdown still, so it was kind of, like looking for people to volunteer to come back, but, we totally understand everybody can stay home if you need to. There was no way for us to be able to work from home. As far as I'm aware, the only reason we couldn't do that was because we didn't have server access. I think it was all in internal server network, and there wasn't a way for us to connect to it. I'm at home, happy. My husband goes to school full time and also worked, and his school and his job both put him to work from home, so we were both home. It was honestly kind of a nice change of pace at first. Animal Crossing had just come out. Does anyone remember those days of quarantine? The dogs were thrilled to have us around, and everything was going pretty well. And then kind of towards, April, I'm getting the questions of, okay, well, do you know when you're gonna be back? What's the situation? And it was all still very, very friendly back and forth between me and my manager of just, I don't know how safe it is for me. I don't the numbers are still really high. I don't really feel comfortable. I'm gonna give you the tentative date of June 1st, and we'll see what things are like. By the end of May, things were better, and everything was very tight. Like, things were still pretty much on lockdown. You couldn't really go anywhere or do anything, which is fine because I don't want to go anywhere or do anything anyway. And I wasn't comfortable going back yet. So I asked my manager kind of like, what are you guys doing about this? Like, what are the procedures? And everything was pretty much bang on standard operations as normal. The only concession that I had seen was one that we had agreed to before, a lot of people had agreed to before the shutdown happened, which was that instead of using the thumbprint scanner to clock in, you could write down your in and out times and give those to HR, which, decent solution, but there's still a lot of other issues there. And I didn't feel as though I could risk my health and my safety on the 100 or so other people that are in that building at any given time. There's also, again, 2 other shifts that work in production, so I think we maybe had like 200, 250 people that worked there total. But again, we had 1 door in, 1 thumbprint scanner, the door into our building, no windows, no circulation, 1 refrigerator for lunches, or you have to go get takeout. It's an hour away from my house and an hour back, so then it's a lot of gas, so that's exposure to people at the gas station. Anytime I have to go to the bathroom, that's exposure because there's only 1 bathroom. And there's the 1 water cooler, which I drink water all day long. So I really just wasn't comfortable going back. Nobody was wearing masks. There wasn't really any social distancing being enforced, so I formally requested of my manager and HR ADA accommodations to work from home. I know that was a big ask because they had talked in the past about getting up a system for us to be able to work from home, but this was when they very first opened, and it was more in relation to, oh, well, if it snows really bad, or if the roads are bad, or if power goes out, or if there's flood, or whatever. If something happens, maybe a couple years in the future, we'll set up a work from home. And of course I didn't get it because they didn't have the ability to do that, which I understand and I don't fault them for. From what I can tell, everybody actually put their heads together and thought really hard about what would be a good compromise or a good way to get me back into working. And the one option they came up with was one of the guys who worked for the company traveled back and forth from Ohio. So he would be in New Jersey during the week and Ohio on the weekends. And his office, because the travel ban was pretty much done, his office was empty. So they offered me, I could have his office. It would be a private room with a door that nobody else would go into or out of, which is honestly a pretty decent solution. It minimized a lot of my exposure risks, but it doesn't get rid of the one bathroom, the one refrigerator, the microwave, the fact that nobody's wearing masks, the constant touching of doors and exposing myself to people when I go to get gas, because as you know, in New Jersey, you don't pump your own gas. You have to talk to a person, hand them your card, they pump the gas, they hand you your card back. My husband and I talked about it, and he was really uncomfortable with me going in. He's super sweet and supportive and was just so worried. And I wasn't comfortable going in. And I didn't want to play a game of back and forth with them for weeks on end of, okay, well, I'll come back in another week. I'll come back in 2 more weeks. Let's see how this is going. Maybe I'll come back next month. And on top of that, the guy whose office I'd be taking over would eventually have to come back. So eventually I would get put back into the regular office, and it was all wide open, and everybody, I think my desk mate to the right, I was maybe 2 or 3 feet from, and to the left, I was about 4 feet from. So I'd be around everybody again. And I just wasn't comfortable. I didn't want to, I don't know if lead them on is the right term, but I didn't want to like keep dragging things out and constantly be like, oh yeah, I'll be back next week. I'll be back next week. I'll be back next week. And leave them short-staffed, because in the meantime, the few people that were going in were working overtime to be able to compensate for everybody else being home. So I ended up choosing to quit. And I really hate that, because I liked this job. I really liked all of the people that I worked with. They're good people, they're funny, we all had the same interests, like we could sit down at lunch and talk about Dungeons and Dragons, or the faults of the DC cinematic universe, or Star Wars, and why Ewoks Caravan of Courage is the best of the no longer canon movies, whatever. I don't want to see any hate in the comments below for Ewoks Caravan of Courage. Don't come at me. We're not talking about that today. But I liked my work. I didn't like driving the hour, because that was 2 hours in the car, but that was really the only thing I didn't like. Was it where I had always dreamed of being? No, but it was a full-time job with health insurance. Like, that's great. And I still definitely feel like I worry that I overreacted, especially as numbers in our state keep going down and everything keeps getting better and better. I worry that, did I make the right choice? And it's not just, it's hard to sit and also think about, okay, well, what's next month going to look like? And what's fall going to look like? We don't know. What's it going to look like if I get sick? We don't know. All I know for sure is my husband went to pick my things up from the office so that I didn't have to go in. This was the first week of June. Nobody was wearing masks. Nobody was social distancing. People were standing together, talking, chatting, having a good time. It was like nothing had changed. I don't fault any of these people for this. I don't harbor any ill will, but just knowing that does make me feel more secure in the choice that I made to not go back, because I am taking this whole situation very seriously. I did get a text from one of the other girls. She went back in July, and she was saying that they had put the walls up on the cubes. So instead of being just the back wall with 2 half walls, so you would have like your back wall and a little bit, but for the most part, the whole office was totally open. She was saying they actually put the walls up so everybody had a full cube, and they were sanitizing daily. I don't know what that meant. Having the walls up, yeah, okay, that's a lot better. That means you're able to socially distance, but what does sanitizing daily mean? Sanitizing what? And daily as in once a day? With that many people in there? No. So I'm glad I didn't go back. I'm terrified about having not gone back. I'm a little heartbroken about this whole situation, honestly, but I wasn't willing to take that risk, and my husband wasn't willing for me to take that risk. Things are weird right now. I made the choice that I felt was the best one for myself, the best one for my family. It may or may not have been the correct choice, but it's the choice that I made. And I do have to say, I mean, I'm pretty happy to be spending time home. I get to play video games. I stream on Twitch 3 times a week. I get to read books. I get to hang out with my dogs. I get to actually see my husband all the time. I actually cook again, which is a lot better than getting Chipotle every week. Oh my God. Also, I do really miss Chipotle. There isn't one near me, or else I would have gotten it by now. God, am I the most basic of white bitches or what? Yeah, so I've been trying to find work I can do from home. My husband is looking for kind of better, steadier employment, but for now we're okay, and things are gonna keep being okay, and we'll just have to make it work however we can. I'm sure, you know, this isn't gonna be forever. Please. Please. And things will eventually return to a new state of normal, but for now, I'm here, I'm talking to you guys. I miss you all so much, and I wish we could hang out in person again. Yeah, even those of you who I don't know in person, I wish we could hang out. I bet it would be a lot of fun. We should all go to the beach one day. That's it for this video. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, comment, ring the bell, press all those buttons down below. I'd love to hear from you guys. And how has everything going on affected you guys? Are you all back to work yet? Are you still working from home? Have you lost your job? What's going on? Let me know in the comments down below. I will see you all next week. All right, bye.